video. And all I'm going to be doing today is sheathing the rest of this floor here. And really, the largest reason, I don't think anybody actually wants to sit here through this whole thing and watch me cut a bunch of popsicle sticks and lay them out. Really, the only reason why I'm doing this right now is because I need the footage so that I can do the time lapse for you guys later, so you can actually see the whole thing unfolding. But I don't think I honestly don't think anybody's going to sit through this whole thing. But if you do sit through this thing, I'll be talking about a bunch of things. In fact, if you get up on the YouTube chat, you can ask me questions if you want, and I'll answer them and turn this into like a podcast kind of a thing. In fact, I guess the Google should be up by now, or the YouTube, sorry. But I don't think. Yeah, so the YouTube is up now. So I will be watching the YouTube chat, assuming. Doesn't let me go down. That's weird. I don't know. Sometimes this thing does weird things. What do I need here? I'll just check. Sometimes people send me text messages while we're doing this because they can't talk to me on the YouTube chat. You also get to watch me eat this wonderful brownie that my wife made for me before she left for Florida. Unfortunately, my wife's grandmother passed away this past week, so she's in Florida for the next few days, helping her parents see to the arrangements. So that really sucks. But now you get to see me eating brownie in the time lapse too. So I went out and bought new glue sticks. And the glue sticks that I had before were, well, they call themselves multi-temp. Interesting. They both say they're multi-temp. This one's more flexible. This one says 410 Fahrenheit, 220 Celsius. This one doesn't say at all. This one seems not quite as flexible as this one. I don't know, maybe they are close to the same. I'm not sure. I actually had a pretty hard time finding these. They don't sell them in the normal big box stores, which I guess kind of stands to reason, because the big box stores tend to be construction type places, right? Whereas I don't know that anyone would use hot glue in construction. It's certainly not going to hold up 2x4. So first thing we have to do is cut a whole bunch more of these. In fact, I'm going to cut the rest of this box. So by the time this stack here is done, we will have our first dead soldier. I also started using this smaller clip here to hold them together. Less clamping pressure, but kind of easier to use, to be honest. So I still need the two things. Got I have no clue how many of these I'm going to need for the roof, but I figure a lot of them. And so it's one box down. So this is one whole box you're seeing in front of you here. So I still have 9 boxes to go, so I should be just fine. And like I said before, if I need to open another box, I can. I don't understand is why this is not letting me scroll down. What happens if I do that? It still won't let me scroll down. That's weird. It does weird things sometimes. You know, I used to think of myself as a big computer guy. I started programming computers in 1979 in a language called APL. And only the really old people will know what this is. But it's essentially a language that incorporates the Greek letter set as quick command type things. So instead of typing out print, you would use a del character, kind of a thing. And that was on the mainframe in the University of New Brunswick, Canada. And the fellow that actually got me interested in computers was a fellow by the name of Randall McDougall, who was, I met him when I was 13 years old, I think, at the library in Fredericton, where they were having a science fiction convention, you know, a library science fiction convention. And he was teaching people how to play Dungeons and Dragons. And I fell in love with Dungeons and Dragons. Like, that became my obsession for the next, oh my Lord. Well, years and years. I was still playing Dungeons and Dragons in the Army, in fact. And I remember this one time in the Army, we were on our way back from, I don't know, a month or two in Norway on this big exercise that we were doing. And it was like I don't know, a 10, 12-hour flight on what we at the time called Scare Air, but it was a military passenger jet, DC-30, I think, really old. That's why we called it Scare Air. And I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of the other NCOs, junior NCO. I was a junior at the time. So yeah, so Dungeons and Dragons stuck with me for a long time, and that's kind of what, that was kind of my gateway drug into you know, most of the other things. I do a lot of online role playing now because it's the closest I can come to that Dungeons and Dragons experience, that old Dungeons and Dragons experience. Now that I can't really get together with people like I used to, I just don't have the time. But anyway, so he got me into computers. So I've been into computers for a long time. When I joined the Army, I was one of the very few people that knew anything about computers at all. And I did a lot of computer work in the Army in, you know, I joined the Army in 87. 87 to 98, I was in the Army. And for pretty much the whole time that I was there, if they had a computer, anything that they wanted to do, they came to me, which was kind of cool. So, you know, I considered, and then when I got into the military, I went back to school, took some upgrading courses in programming, and got myself a job in the high-tech field. So, you know, I've always considered myself a computer guy, knowing a lot about computers, until I got here. The guys here know way more than I do. Like, I almost feel like I'm playing when I compare myself to them. Back when I was in Canada and I was in Ottawa, I was kind of a big fish in a small pond most of the time. And now it's completely reversed. I am a very small fish in a very big pond. So I have to content myself with making a difference in what little ways I can. And take up hobbies like this. This hobby is kind of interesting. It came out of, I was telling you in the last video about the helmet that I built, which I'll have to find it for you and show you sometime. It's the Clone Trooper helmet that I didn't exactly build, but I kind of rebuilt it or resculpted part of it out of plastic and then fiberglass and Bondo. And that started me into prop building and model making. And then I've been doing that for a very long time. And then this just kind of came out of that. I saw a popsicle stick mansion that someone else did on YouTube. And I thought, you know what, I can do that. And I've always wanted to have a model of my dream home. So I thought, why not? And I can let you guys watch. And it kind of gets me more into the YouTube thing of allowing you guys and thinking of it. That's probably my biggest thing. I don't mind. In fact, I like you guys coming along for the ride with me, but oftentimes I just don't remember until it's too late. So it's getting me thinking in that kind of a vein. And, you know, to be honest, the techniques that you use in this aren't incredibly different from the techniques you use in other places. I mean, this is the substructure. I'm essentially treating this as the substructure that I would normally make. And I know most people, when they get finished with the popsicle sticks, that's it, they're done. But like I was saying, not me. The popsicle sticks, I'm gonna take a bunch of pictures and videos and stuff of the popsicle sticks. But then I'm actually gonna finish it. And I'm gonna try my best. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of gaps in here. Because popsicle sticks, kind of like dimensional lumber, popsicle sticks are not, you know, 100% square or 100% true. You know, some of them are warped. They're definitely differing sizes, differing widths, thicknesses. Lengths seem to be pretty close, but you know, you get some of them bowing and stuff like that. And on dimensional lumber, you can take care of that a lot easier because, you know, cut off a piece if you need to, or, you know, whatever you have to do. Although in stick frame housing, they often have similar kinds of problems in that the 2x4s that they're using for the stick frames, at least on the interior walls, the non-load bearing walls, can often be very badly warped. And they actually don't care too much about that, because really the interior walls, the non-load bearing walls, they're only there to hold up the drywall. So if you look underneath the drywall, or you know, if you're building a house and you go in before the drywall goes up, you will oftentimes see pretty crappy looking 2x4s underneath. They can be bent and bowed and wowed. And I saw one that was And when we built our house, before we had to sell it to come here, we built our house about, geez, 12 years ago now. There was one that was like 4 inches off. It came down straight, and then it went kind of 4 inches this way. And literally all they did was cut it almost completely in half, push it back in, nail the bottom down, and I think they put just a scab of plywood on the side of it just to hold it together, kind of a thing. And then that was it. Then they just drywalled over it. But that's okay because it's not holding anything up. It's literally just there to be a support for the drywall. And that's kind of how I'm going to treat this. I'll take the pictures of the popsicle sticks simply because for a lot of people that's the end result, you know, and how the popsicle sticks look when it's all done is important. So I'm going to try and make them look as good as possible. But then I'm literally going to finish it. I'm not going to drywall the sides, but I'm going to plaster the walls. And I'm going to try to use, like, I'm going to use cement out here. I'm going to use cement out here. I can't use tile in here, but I'm going to make it look like tile. In here, my wife, I think, wants hardwood. So I'm going to leave that like this kind of a thing. Maybe try to sand it down a little bit. Obviously, I can't do too much or I'll go right through the popsicle sticks. And then maybe stain it or paint it, really, to look like hardwood. And some carpet, I think. Although she might want hardwood in the kitchen and just tile in the bathroom. I don't know. I'll have to ask her. And then hopefully it will be, I'm just tossing shit everywhere. Wow. And then hopefully it will look a lot better. Because right now, I gotta be honest, I'm not happy with all of the Butterfingers. I'm not happy with all of the mistakes and the gaps and the stuff that are here. I just don't like it at all. Not feeling very well today either. Wasn't feeling very well yesterday either. Actually, I had to come home early from work, which bothers me. I don't like doing that. But we've been pushing it pretty hard at work recently. It's we're I don't know, what's the date today? 25th? We're 4 days before launch. And things are going well. I think we're going to put out the best product we've ever put out, and I'm on the team that would know. So I'm happy about that. But I mean, you know, as with any software development company, there's a lot of work to get there. I think people are really going to enjoy it, though. But I can't really talk too much about that because I am not an authorized spokesperson for the company. So anything that I say is my own opinion and my own opinion only. But having said that, it's cool. I just looked at the title of the stream. PSM, Popsicle Stick Mansion, bonus, more floor sheathing, and I misspelled more. How the hell do you misspell more? God damn it. Gosh darn it. I'm sorry. I do not mean to offend anyone. Because let's face it, I try to be, and not most of the time. Wonder how this is going to look in the time lapse. Me sitting here just filling this thing with cut popsicle sticks. Oh, so something else I'm going to try to start doing is at the start of all my videos, which I've already forgotten, but at the start of all my videos, I'm going to try to just give a running tally of how many hours I spent on this to date. So the first night, we spent 2.5 hours. I'm going to say 2 because I dilly-dallied a lot in a lot of places. Just getting the structure together. And then I put another 4 hours into it after that to get all of this part of the structure together. So that's 6. Then on Thursday night, we spent another 2 hours doing kind of this part here. So that's 8. And then I spent another 2 hours last night doing this part here. So that's 10. So we're on 10 hours at the start of this video. And I figure that this particular video would be about 2 hours long. So it'll be 12 hours into this. And judging by how much I've done so far, it's going to be, well, it's going to be at least 12 hours to get this whole floor done. Possibly 13 to 14, just looking at how much I was able to do in 2 hours last night, and how much is left to go. Doing my time appreciation. But definitely on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock when you guys all tune back in, I will have the whole floor sheathed, and then we will start on making the walls. Oh, and another thing that I'm going to do, I'm actually hoping, if I don't do it, here and now in this video, I will put another bonus video up before Tuesday night, where we're going to trim off these rough edges. And I've finally figured out how I'm going to trim off the rough edges. And I think it'll be interesting, actually. I'm kind of jazzed to do it and share it with you guys. So make sure, I mean, if I don't get it done today, make sure you watch the next bonus video on trimming the floorboards. That's what I'll call it, bonus video trimming the floorboards, if I don't put it at the end of this one, which I'm going to try to do. But like I said, with how much time I've put into it already, that's garbage. With how much time I put into it already, I don't think I will get all of this done and be able to trim the floorboards in this video, unless I make this a really long video. Yeah. So you're going to have to watch till the end to find out if I trim the floorboards today. And then if I don't, you're going to have to watch the next bonus video to see me trimming the floorboards. See, how's that for teasers? Huh? Huh? Oh yeah, so that's something else I wanted to do. Have I got a pencil here somewhere? I gotta have a pencil here somewhere. So what did we say that was? It was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we're 10 hours into this already. I'm gonna keep a running total here. 10. So we're 10 hours into this. We'll be at least, I'm going to do this for at least 2 hours a day, so we'll be at least 12 hours by the time we're done here. Now every time I look over at that thing, it bothers me. Come watch the guy who can't spell more. Well, I went to see Ant-Man last night. Geez, this should be a good time to do this. There's another video series I've been wanting to start up. And you guys let me know in the comments if you think I should do this. It's called Totally Biased Videos. Or Totally Biased Reviews. Give me 1 second. I need to eat another piece of brownie. And then I'll tell you what it is. See, look at that, keeping you interested. And we'll get to the answer right after these messages. So, Totally Biased Reviews. I believe that everyone who does a review of anything is biased. It's in our nature. We all have things that we like and things that we don't like. And that's called a bias. The thing is, most people don't tell you that they're biased. Or worse yet, some people will try to tell you that they're unbiased. And it is very, very difficult to be truly unbiased in anything. So I'm starting to get ticked off with watching these reviews done by people that are saying they're unbiased, and then talking about how, you know, I don't know, different aspects of the plot, or or different bits of character development were, you know, weak or lazy or blah 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 blah. Or my favorite is when people get up and say, "Oh my God, this was a terrible movie. It was nothing like the book." Well, being nothing like the book doesn't make something a terrible movie. Don't get me wrong. There are things that I think are terrible movies. No Country for Old Men. That was a freaking terrible movie, in my opinion. That's an Oscar film. I think that was the Oscar winner that year. And 2 hours of my life I will never get back. Like, I mean, that was horrible. So I have biases. And I will wear my heart on my sleeve. I will tell you what my biases are. I mean, as long as I can think clearly enough to elucidate what my biases are. I mean, sometimes, let's face it, everyone has biases that they don't even realize that they have. And I'm no different than anybody else. I'll have biases that I don't realize that I have. But I try to think about them. And I try to recognize when I have them. And, you know, if you guys notice that I have biases that I don't realize that I have, let me know. I'll think about it and tell you whether I agree or not. So I'm thinking of starting up a review show called Totally Biased Reviews, where I basically tell you if I enjoyed something or not. And that's really all anybody can do when they're reviewing something. But I'm going to try my best to basically tell you what I like to help you decide if you like the same things or not, which will in turn help you decide whether or not you want to see something or buy something based on how close your likes and dislikes are to my likes and dislikes. Because you could decide that you like completely the opposite things that I like, and therefore if I say it's absolutely terrible, you might love it. No Country for Old Men being a perfect example. I freaking hate that film. But if you liked it, then you'll know that if I say that I freaking hate it because it was the same kind of movie as No Country for Old Men, you're probably going to like it. Now, I can't tell you in one sitting what all of my biases are, but some of my biggest biases are I'm a huge science fiction fan. I love science fiction. Wow, that was not good. Holy crap, this glue is a lot hotter than it was yesterday, or that new glue that I just got is really melts at a really lower temperature than all of the other glue that I've used. Wow. So yeah, I really like science fiction. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Yes, I am bi sci-fi. I really like comic book movies. I actually like most, to be honest, chick flicks, like Hitch, one of my favorite movies, loved it. And around Christmas time, when all of those Hallmark Channel Christmas movies come out, I love those. TV shows, my favorite TV shows, like I love the Arrow, Flash. I watched all seasons of Smallville. I really liked it. I watched all seasons of Charmed. I liked the first three, honestly, the best. Before, was it Courtney Cox? Was that the one that was in it for the first three seasons? I think that she left for the right reasons, and I think what she said was true. The show kind of devolved after that. Although I am a big Kaylee Cuoco fan, so I mean I liked what she did, but the show itself was it just didn't do as well in the last, what was it, 4 seasons, I guess. Not in my estimation, anyway. So I liked the Avengers a lot. I really like Iron Man. I like almost anything Superman. Batman, my favorite character. Love him and everything he stands for. In general, I mean, they've done weird things sometimes. I am not one of these guys that believes a film has to be exactly the same as the book. Like Starship Troopers, for example. For what it was, I thought it was a pretty darn good film. It was a little campy, a little cheesy in places. But I thought the acting was good. Definitely like Neil Patrick Harris in it. I'm actually a pretty big Neil Patrick Harris fan, too. It was... Now, I've read the book also. I'm a big science fiction reader. And really the only thing that the book shared in common with the movie was the name. Not even the bugs, really. I mean, there were a lot of differences in the bugs. There were a lot of differences in the suits. But just because the movie was different does not mean that it was bad. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Never did actually watch any of the sequels, to be honest, but very much enjoyed the movie. And there were a lot of other ones like that too, like Battlefield Earth. I thought it was an excellent movie. I thought John Travolta did very well in it. It's really only the first half, or maybe even slightly less than half, of the book Battlefield Earth. But I thought it was a very good movie. Some of you who know me may know that I am a Lucasfilm approved Darth Maul actor, which sounds fancy, but doesn't really mean much. What it means is that Lucasfilm allows me to get paid to play Darth Maul in public appearances. In reality, what that means is 20th Century Fox has actually paid me to play Darth Maul once. That's it, just once. But hey, I'm gonna hold on to my 30 seconds of fame. But I tell you that because what it really means is I actually enjoyed Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3. I mean, were they great intellectual movies? No. Did they hold up to all of the promise of A New Hope? The very first movie? No. But does that mean they're bad? No. I didn't see, I mean, you know, some people will talk about plot holes and things like that. I didn't really see any huge plot holes. Yeah, midichlorians is kind of hokey. But yeah, okay. So, you know, not the end of the world. Get over it. I mean, you're talking about a movie set in space with a mythical, magical force, and you are upset because that mythical, magical force might come from microscopic beings. Like, as Yoda says, judge me by my size, do you? Like, I mean, give me a break. If you've got suspension of disbelief, then you've got suspension of disbelief. That's my take on it anyway. So, yeah, I enjoyed the Star Wars films, all of them. Like I said, I really liked Hitch. The Matrix, probably one of my favorite, the first Matrix, probably one of my favorite movies ever. And that, yeah, that's actually interesting. So here's another. Oh, hello. So Ulysses says, I think that's the best kind of review. I'd rather hear someone's honest opinion versus someone's unbiased opinion. Yeah, very true. You and I think on the same lines, Matt. What about Mass Effect? So the only, I know there are, I'm pretty sure there are Mass Effect books, but I haven't read them. Mass Effect video game series, probably one of the best I've ever played. Well, Mass Effect 2 is my favorite. Is it 2 or is it 3? No, it's 2. I think it's 2. I got Mass Effect 2 first, played it all the way through, went back and bought Mass Effect 1, played that all the way through, then played Mass Effect 2 through again. Then I did play Mass Effect through again 2 more times before Mass Effect 3 came out. And then, so Mass Effect 3, honestly, I thought Mass Effect 3 was kind of derivative. There weren't any real upgrades in anything in Mass Effect 3, which by itself isn't a bad thing. It's just, I don't know, I guess I was hoping for something more. And that's really, this is another thing I've thought about a lot. That's really the biggest part of why, I believe, why people don't like things. If you go into something, anything, doesn't matter what it is, if you go into it expecting one thing and you get something else, you're not going to like it. Unless you're really in tune with your, you know, your feelings and your and understanding what you're all about, you're just not going to like it. But because you didn't get what you expected doesn't mean it's bad. Now, if you go into something expecting it to be a particular thing and it is, then you are far more likely to enjoy it. And that's kind of what I found all the time. You know, I mean, unless of course, I go into it expecting it to be bad, and it is bad, and then I'm just justified. Nah, that's cool, man. Ulysses is saying that that's how he played the trilogy too. So the one thing about Mass Effect 3, I mean, basically the gameplay and the storyline in it, I enjoyed. But I honestly felt that the ending to it, the original ending, because I was pre-order, I thought the ending to it was a cop-out. I really did. I didn't really enjoy the endings all that much. I also didn't enjoy the fact that in order to get the better endings, you were forced to play multiplayer. Now, don't get me wrong, I like multiplayer. And I even, actually, I like the Mass Effect multiplayer more than I like most, because the Mass Effect multiplayer is co-op. Whereas I cannot stand PvP. I would go so far as to say I despise PvP. I think PvP, I know some people like it, and if you like it, good for you. I don't. Can't stand it in the least. Hate playing it. I just can't say enough bad about it. There's one of my biases. I do not like PvP. And I mean, I can go into it in great detail, but I mean, you guys don't want to hear that. But yeah, so I didn't like being forced to go into the multiplayer game in order to get the better endings. I did it. I got a few friends that I play with. So I'm also a big Star Wars: The Old Republic player. I play with my guild on Tuesdays and Mondays and Wednesdays. And for a while there, I was actually live streaming on the Pumpkin Pact channel that was owned by Jake Lloyd until he got in trouble with the law. Have you guys heard about Jake Lloyd? Like, I've gamed with him a lot. Great guy. I love him. I haven't spoken to him since it happened. But what the hell, Jake? If you're ever watching this, what the hell were you thinking? Like, because the Jake I know has way better head on his shoulders than that. That's kind of all I'll say about him, because not really my place. So, Ant-Man. It had a plot, and the plot was enough to carry the storyline, I think. it didn't take itself too seriously. In fact, it laughed at itself in a couple of places. And I was never broken out of the movie. That's something, if I get broken out of the movie, if something happens to take me out of the story, that's something I don't like. Mostly because it's usually a surprise, right? And it goes back to, if you're not expecting something, or if you're, expecting something to get something else, you don't like it. So, yeah, I didn't really have anything that broke me out of the movie. So, all in all, I was pretty happy with Ant-Man. There's some action, like it's not an Iron Man style action movie, but there is action. Well, I suppose I can start at this end and go the other way now, eh? I started at that and it came this way before, but now that I got it all together, I can start at this end and go the other way. Doesn't matter. It wasn't really a comedy. It was kind of a half comedy kind of a thing. A bit of a story about a guy redeeming himself, kind of a thing. It kind of in the eyes of his child, his struggle. So I don't think I'm giving away too many spoilers by saying that the main character is a fella who starts off in prison. He's a burglar, and he gets out of prison and struggles, and he is found by Hank Pym. Oh yeah, so this is another thing that's one of my biases. One of the few things that will get me upset at a book or a comic book movie is if they change large plot points that didn't need to be changed. Probably one of the biggest examples was the first Spider-Man movie. You want to change plot points, some plot points, you want to amalgamate plot points, like the way Game of Thrones is doing right now. They're kind of moving storylines around a little bit for TV. Go ahead. But to me, and again, this might be just because this is what I was expecting. To me, everything I knew about Spider-Man, I had read some comics, but mostly watched the cartoon. Peter Parker was a scientist. And one of the largest plot points in Spider-Man always was his web fluid. He would mix up his own web fluid, and it would always run out at the wrong time. And he would have to go off. He would come up against something that he'd never come up against before, and he would have to go off and mix up his own new chemical formula of web fluid that would do something slightly different that would help him defeat the bad guys. I mean, that was pretty much his shtick. That's what he did all the time, and it was just kind of rinse and repeat that way. So that was Spider-Man to me. So when I went into Spider-Man, the first movie, that's what I was expecting. But what I got was webs coming out of his arms. Which was, if I understand it correctly, and like I said, I don't know, I'm not an aficionado of Spider-Man by any stretch of imagination, but which was one small storyline once or maybe twice when Peter Parker was turning into the man spider kind of a thing, when the eugenics formula was kind of overloading, and he was basically turning into a spider. And that really popped me out of the film, like popped me out of the story. And that's what bothers me the most about movies. If I get popped out of the story, that's it. You've lost me at that point. That's not going to work. Definitely do not like being popped out of the story. So yeah, that particular one bothered me. So back to Ant-Man. Yeah, there was nothing that really popped me out of the story. It definitely had a lot of humor in it, which I really liked. It also, and this is something that Marvel is doing that I really, really enjoy, it also had connections to the other movies. And Marvel's doing that in a big way right now. Basically, all of their movies are in the same universe, and their TV show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're all in the same universe. And you see them cross over, and you see, and actually Agent Carter too. You see them cross over. You see bits and pieces that are the same, like the girl who played Peggy Carter in Agent Carter, and the girl who played Peggy Carter in Ant-Man, same girl. Guy who played Howard Stark, same guy who plays it in Agent Carter. I love that. They had Falcon on the show, and he was the same. Not only was he the same Falcon, like the same actor who plays the Falcon, they were in the same spot where Falcon is in their timeline right now. You know, so having that continuity between the different films and the TV show, I think that's fantastic. I think that's a really smart thing for them to do. Mostly, I mean, I like that kind of thing, but that's what the comic books do too. And this is a comic book movie, so you know, really fit well. I very much love that kind of a continuity. And like I said, it didn't take itself too seriously. There were, like, I mean, it was part drama, part action, mostly action, I guess, like light drama, action, comedy. You know, it definitely did not take itself too seriously, and I very much enjoyed that. If you want to know my opinion on any other films, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling. Getting work emails. What else have I watched recently? Oh, hold on. Another brownie break. My wife makes good brownies. That's not supposed to happen. Somebody somewhere is crying up a storm. So, what was I just talking about? I can't remember what I was just talking about. That happens to me a lot too. I'm old. Batman versus Superman. What do you guys think? Who was my favorite Batman? Wow, that is a hard question. Holy crap. I gotta say, I'm holding out a lot of hope for Ben Affleck. So Batman is one of these interesting ones. He's been played by a lot of people. I was not an Adam West Batman guy. Now, don't get me wrong, I watched them all, and at the time I loved them, but he was just not the kind of Batman that I want to see. When Michael Keaton first took the role, I was very cautious. But I loved him as Batman. I thought he did a great job as Batman. And then George Clooney took it. I thought he did a fine job. Val Kilmer, one of my favorite actors, to be honest, Val Kilmer. So I thought he did a good job too. A lot of people didn't. I didn't mind him so much. When they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, I was worried because although I don't have anything against Ben Affleck, Batman to me is the pinnacle of human evolution, essentially. Like, the guy is super smart. He's the world's greatest detective, like super smart. Maybe not as technically smart as Tony Stark, but Tony Stark, I mean, other than the fact that Tony Stark is a genius with tech and weapons, Tony Stark's a freaking idiot. Okay? The guy, I think it was the movie Battleship, another movie I liked, by the way. I think it was the movie Battleship that said it well. I've never seen anybody with such skills, intelligence, and potential make so many poor decisions. Like, for a guy who's supposed to be a super genius, he makes really poor decisions. And that's probably my pet peeve with most superheroes. But Batman tends to never be like that. So so Batman is not only the world's greatest detective, super smart, but he is the pinnacle of human conditioning. And it's all self-perseverance. Like, the guy is supposed to be a brick shithouse. Like, the guy moves in, 30, 40 pounds of armor, whatever the hell it is that he's wearing, and jumps around like he's a freaking acrobat and kicks the crap out of people. Like, Batman's my favorite superhero, by the way. I fully subscribe to, if you can be Batman, always be Batman. So I wasn't optimistic when they cast Ben Affleck. But the first time I saw him in that suit, I got chills. Like, the very first picture that they put out with him in the suit with the cowl, and he's kind of looking down, and that big chest that he's got now, like, holy crap, what the hell? That is not the Ben Affleck I know. Like, I was thinking the Daredevil Ben Affleck, where he was like this freaking thick. And then Comic-Con last year, I saw him standing on stage with the guy who's playing Superman. I can't remember what his name is. And the guy who's playing Superman is a big, muscular guy. And Ben Affleck made him look like a freaking teenager. Like, Batman standing next to Superman, Batman's huge. I loved it. I absolutely, because that's what it's like, right? I mean, Superman is not strong because he's got muscles. Superman's not strong because he's conditioned. Superman's strong because he comes from another planet, and our sun gives him super strength. But that's it. Batman, on the other hand, has to earn everything that he's got. So if he's going to hold his own, if he's going to be able to do all those things that Batman is supposed to do, well, then, that height, weight, and muscular structure is necessary for him, where it's not so much for Superman. So as far as the casting goes with Batman, especially in comparison with Superman, I'm really holding out a lot of hope for Ben Affleck. I really am. I'm hoping, and I'm kind of cognizant of this, I'm hoping that I'm not expecting too much, because that's another problem, right? If you're expecting too much and you don't get what you're expecting, you won't like it. So I'm a little bit worried there. Now, the one, I know you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to go on a little bit further. The one that I'm still worried about is Wonder Woman. Because I know they've changed this a couple of times over the years, but I choose to believe that Wonder Woman gets her strength from being an Amazon warrior. And it's not magical strength. It's physical strength and conditioning over years, if not generations. Well, actually, not even years. I think it's hundreds of years, if I remember correctly. Amazons in that mythos live hundreds of years. But I expect Wonder Woman to also be built like a brick shithouse. Gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, which I guess this actress is. I mean, she's not exactly my type, but she's not bad looking by any stretch of the imagination. But I would have liked to have seen, there's been a couple of different girls that I've seen that I thought would have done way better at this. Katie Sackhoff being one. That girl is gorgeous and looks like she could kick the shit out of just about anybody. There are a couple other girls too. The girl who plays Brienne of Tarth, who's now in the new Star Wars movie. I think she could have done a good job. I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head. There was somebody else too. The Expendables, the last Expendables movie, they had a new girl, a younger girl in there. Can't remember what her name was. But I think she would have done well. Like, I mean, there's a lot of girls out there that are very good looking and have, you know, they're tall. I expect Wonder Woman to be, you know, close to 6 feet tall, and I expect her to have larger muscles than I do. And let's face it, I've been out of the Army for a long time, so I don't really have much muscles anymore. So that's not a hard bar to beat. But yeah, I'm not holding out a lot of hope for her at all. I mean, you know, maybe she's a great actress and she can act the shit out of this thing. I don't know. But I really don't think she looks the part. I just don't. But I'm willing to be proven wrong. You know, I mean, I've seen the trailers, and when you see her by herself, she doesn't look too bad. But then again, you got nothing to compare it to, right? When she's standing beside Superman, if you ever watched the cartoon ones, most of the time when she's standing beside Superman, she's got broader shoulders than he does. And that's kind of what I expect. You know, put her in a dress and she'll look drop dead gorgeous, but you know, put her in her battle armor or the bathing suit that she wears when she's fighting, and you can see that she has shoulders the size of a freaking horse. So that was a really long answer that probably didn't say much. My favorite Batman, I'm hoping, will be Ben Affleck. But if that doesn't work out, probably Michael Keaton. Even though I'm a bit of a George Clooney fan, but I'm a big Val Kilmer fan. Always have been. In fact, there are some actors Oh, what? Oh, Christian Bale. Holy crap. You're right. Uh, son of a bitch. Yeah, I liked Christian Bale. I think as an actor, he did a really good job. I think he definitely was able to play the duality of Batman pretty well, like Batman and Bruce Wayne pretty well. They definitely took his character to a different place than a lot of the other Batman characters or incarnations went. They really made him the Dark Knight. You know, I mean, they took him to the darker spot, and that worked. That definitely worked in the context that they had it in. As an actor, I really like Christian Bale. I don't know. Is it my favorite Batman? I'd have to think about that more. You know, I've never thought that hard about it before. Definitely like him though. Like a lot of the stuff that he's done, to be honest. I guess what's confusing me now is Ben Affleck. I think I'm kind of holding my breath for him, because he has the potential to really ruin it. I think Christian Bale definitely did a good job as Batman. I will absolutely say that. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Actually, did you see Ben Affleck at Comic-Con talking about meeting Christian Bale after he had gotten the part? That was funny. If you haven't, I'll tell you the story. It's funny. But if you have, I'm not gonna force you to hear it again. Yeah, I couldn't say anything bad about Christian Bale as Batman. I think, well, the worst Batman is definitely Adam West. It's not his fault. It was just a different. It was a different thing. It was a different time. He was meant to be a different Batman. It was back at a time when things had to be campy and funny, and it couldn't be the kind of Batman that it really is. Because if I understand correctly, I haven't seen the old comics, but I'm told that Batman did actually kill people in the early days, like the early days of the comics. I know Captain America carried a gun in the early days and definitely killed people. Then again, he's not too far off of that now. He doesn't really kill people anymore, but he's not too far off of that. You didn't hear it? Okay. So Ben Affleck told this story at the Comic-Con panel, this Batman versus Superman Comic-Con panel. He was taking his son out to get a Halloween costume last year. And his son wanted to be Batman. Great choice. So he goes to some place, wherever it is that you can buy, crappy kids' Halloween costumes. And he's in the superhero aisle and looking at Batman costumes. Who does he run into but Christian Bale? And yeah, so two actors who played or are playing Batman meeting in the costume aisle of the costume store, buying a Batman costume for their kids. Like literally both of them were buying Batman costumes for the kids. And Ben says to Christian, do you have any advice? And the way he tells it, he was scared to death because he's really a big fan of Christian Bale's. And he says the only thing that Christian Bale said to him was, make sure you can piss in the suit. Ow. See, don't burn yourself like that. So I thought that was funny. And I was actually a little pleasantly surprised to find out that Ben Affleck is a Christian Bale fan. Crap. Turn that around. There we go. Now I'll probably have to glue it again. That's good. Anything else you want to hear about? Because let's face it, watching a guy glue popsicle sticks down for 2 hours is not necessarily the height of most people's day. Aha! That'll work. I'll give you 30 seconds to bring up another topic, and then I'll start rambling on something else. That's the way I'm gonna have to title these things. Watch Rob do tedious shit and listen to him ramble. I don't really want to swear so much. I'm trying to make these mostly family friendly. I think kids might watch this stuff. Ooh, Underworld. Yeah. So Underworld's another one. It went kind of the same way as The Matrix did for me. I absolutely loved the first one. And then I honestly didn't think the next two, I think it was two after that, were as good. I'm not going to go so far as to say I think that they were bad. I just don't think that they were as good as the first one. And that is a common problem for so many film franchises. They kind of blow their wad on the first one, and don't have as many places to go on the second or third one. But again, you know, if I think about this logically, again, it kind of comes down to when I watched the first Underworld, I didn't have any preconceptions. But when the second Underworld came out, there were places that I wanted them to go, mostly based on what I saw in the first one. And they didn't go where I was expecting or hoping that they would go, really, is what it was. Also, they did some stuff with the older vampires that I thought was a little more overly gross than they needed to. And I wasn't so fond of that. I loved the caste system that they had set up in the first Underworld with the vampires. Have you ever heard of Vampire the Masquerade? It is a let me know if you in the comments if you've heard of Vampire the Masquerade. It's a live action role-playing game that I used to play a lot back in the late 90s. And it has a caste system for vampires, kind of a thing. And this kind of mirrored that. And I really enjoyed that. And I like that kind of a thing with vampires. I like to see their hierarchical structure or their political structure, whatever the heck it is. I just find that kind of thing kind of fascinating. And even what they did with the werewolves, making them servants, the day servants of the vampires. I thought that was kind of neat. A slightly different take, excuse me, than a lot of other people have done. But definitely not unheard of before. I mean, they use the same concept, kind of a concept, in Gargoyles, the old cartoon, which one of my favorites, by the way. But then in the second and third ones, they just went more places with it than I liked. Although I got to tell you, the plot point that they had about the Corvus family, and yeah, you probably like it. I mean, if you like, wow, what do you have to like live action role playing games? I don't know. I guess improvisational theater. I guess it's kind of a cross between improvisational theater and tabletop role-playing games. It's really kind of taking tabletop role-playing games to the next level, and making it, slightly more realistic. Although in that one, which is fine, you all of your contests, whether they be battles or strength battles or will battles or whatever, any contest, anything where an outcome needs to be decided, happens with rock paper scissors, which is kind of neat. You might be, the way you answered that question, actually, you might be thinking of the video game series, which I think is based off of, well, I'm certain is based off of the live action role playing game. Very good series, actually. I really enjoyed it. I like their combat and stealth system there. Very good. But back to Underworld. I like the werewolves. I like the vampires. I definitely like the caste system in the vampires. I was just, yeah, it really comes down to, I was expecting something different than I got in the second and third movies, and I wasn't happy. It's, when I think about it logically, that's just really what it all came down to. Although, like I say, I gotta say, I do find the two brothers' story kind of are pretty interesting, to be honest. And the one brother being locked away because he went crazy, essentially, is kind of an interesting story. I got to be honest. So yeah, I guess I like the third one more than I like the second one. I don't know. The second one I just found wallowed a little bit. It just never really found its footing for me. The first one I thought was phenomenal, though. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're both called the same thing, right? They're both called Vampire the Masquerade. There was actually a TV show called Kindred the Embraced, which I'm absolutely certain was based off of the game. I don't think they'll ever say that for copyright reasons, but I'm absolutely certain it was based off of the game. So yes, you can definitely be forgiven for, well, actually, it's my fault as much as yours, right? I gave you a name that meant two different things. Matrix. That was another one, kind of like Kindred the Embraced, or sorry, Underworld. Oh, by the way, I love the female vampire. She was pretty hot. I like the idea of the abominations too. The fact that you could become both vampire and werewolf. I thought that was pretty cool. I love the father that lived forever and how rich he was. That was pretty cool. Yeah, so The Matrix. I saw The Matrix. I just left the army in '98, I believe. And I think I saw The Matrix 7 or 8 times in the theaters in the first month that it was out. Since we're on the vampire topic, what are your thoughts on 30 Days of Night? I do not know. I do not know what 30 Days of Night is. I'm sorry. Can you give me a bit more information on it? Is it a movie, book? I don't know. And I will sit here quietly now and wait for your answer. And everyone else can get bored while I'm waiting. So, you know, no hurry, right? That's annoying. I should have some music playing in the background, but it has to be copyright free, royalty free music. Is it a movie? No, I don't know. Honestly, haven't heard of it. 30 Days. Is it a vampire? Well, obviously, it's got to be a vampire because that's why you said it. I'm a little slow sometimes. I've seen a lot of vampire movies. I definitely like the vampire genre. As far as vampire movies go, Underworld is my favorite by far. I don't think any other ones that I've seen anyway. Since in Alaska there are 30 days of night, in the movie a clan of vampires comes to this small town to feed on the people. Well, sounds plausible. I mean, you know, as far as vampires go. But no, definitely have not seen it. Sorry. So something, that hurt. So something weird about me. I do like vampire movies, but I do not like horror films. I despise, you know, bloody slasher type movies. And you know, scary shock type movies like Scream and stuff like that. Cannot stand. You will never catch me watching something classed as a horror film. You're just, yeah, not going to do it. I did watch Buffy. I like Buffy. I'm definitely one of those people that subscribes to the premise of Joss Whedon is my master. I think I've liked everything that guy's ever done. And on the opposite side of that, I think I've hated everything that M. Night Shyamalan has ever done. Yeah, zombie films. I watched Zombieland, and that was right on the edge of what I can take. I watched a few episodes of It's not called Left 4 Dead. What's that zombie TV show that's on now? Walking Dead. I watched a few episodes of that, and not too bad. But yeah, and this is another place where I'm weird. I'm kind of a zombie fan. I mean, I like the philosophical or cerebral exercise of trying to think of what I would do in a zombie apocalypse and how I would survive. But you know, watching somebody like that new TV show, Eyes, I think it's called iZombie or something like that, where the girl eats people's brains and remembers what they were thinking, kind of thing, or knows what they remembered or whatever. Yeah, no, not for me. But Zombieland, I mean, it was just on the cusp. Wasn't I wouldn't say there was too much blood and gore in it. It was more than I would have liked to have seen, but you know, I enjoyed the film. I really did. So I definitely like the idea, but the execution a lot of the times is kind of what leaves me cold with those things. Like, I'll be honest. Now, this is another weird thing. Simon Pegg. I love the guy. Like, he's funny. Paul. I love Paul. But I think that's the only movie of his I can watch. Like, I've seen most of the other movies that he's done, or several of the other movies that he's done, and I just don't like them. I don't know. It's something about the style that he does. He pretty much only does zombie movies, or you know, that sort of a thing. Oh, and I was actually rooting for a different actor to get the part of Scotty in the new Star Trek films, so I was a little disappointed there. Paul McGillion, I think his name is. He was on Stargate Atlantis. He was actually in Star Trek, so he obviously auditioned for the part. But he was playing a very, very minor part of the deck officer on Earth when they're all getting sent up to their ships. Night of the Living Dead, yeah, I watched it. I wouldn't call it my favorite, I'll be honest. I would not have called it my favorite, no. But again, that's just part of my bias, right? That doesn't mean that there is anything particularly wrong with those films at all. I mean, to each his own, right? It's just, it's not my cup of tea. But like I said in the beginning, all that serves to do is inform you that that I'm not a big zombie or blood and guts fan. So if I tell you that I didn't like something because there's a lot of blood and guts in it, then and you like that kind of thing, then you know that you'll like it. That's the great thing about Totally Biased reviews. You don't have to share my bias in order to know what you will and will not like. Yeah, and I fully allow that it's a classic. Absolutely. Just not for me. I'm kind of a classic science fiction type of a guy. I definitely like classic science fiction, like Ender's Game. That was fairly classic science fiction. I like that. And I mean, they did kind of not an upgrade, but an update on it to make it more relevant to today's day and age. But yeah, I thought that was definitely very much classic science fiction. I really enjoyed it. Classic science fiction to me is a moral-driven story. It has a moral in there somewhere. In fact, that's kind of what classic science fiction was always designed to do. Is it was designed to be a morality play hidden in something else, so that they could get away with giving an opinion that would otherwise not be accepted. Classic Star Trek is, I did it again. I swear to God, somebody needs to put a burn counter up there. Ow. The original Star Trek TV show did that all the time. Like, I mean, there were the more overt references that most people get. Such as Uhura and Kirk sharing the first on-screen interracial kiss. But long before that, there were way less overt things happening. I think it was the first season. I'm pretty sure it was the first season where they had an episode where there were two guys who were trying to kill each other. And one of the guys had his face painted black and white. The other guy had his face painted black and white. And they absolutely hated each other. Their worlds were trying to kill each other because one was black on the right side and the other was black on the left side. Oh, what are you saying? I have too short of an attention span to get into a lot of classic sci-fi, but thoroughly enjoy sci-fi. Yeah, sure. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of that going around these days. So back to the Star Trek thing. Wanting to eliminate a race because they're half black and half white, rather than being half white and half black, seems like the stupidest thing in the world. And that's actually what they were saying. And everyone who watched it got that. It is the most stupid thing you can think of to want to destroy a race because their skin color is half black and half white instead of being half white and half black. But, as you would probably guessed, 10 seconds into my little rant here, something that they didn't get, which is why it passed the censors back in, I think it was 67, 66, 67, 68, somewhere around there. Something that they didn't get, which is why it passed the censors, was what Gene Roddenberry was really saying was, it's stupid to kill people because they're black and you're white, or they're X and you're not. Like, and that's really what classic science fiction is all about, is being able to get you those morality messages in a way that where you don't understand that it's a morality message, and you're far more likely to accept it because of that. So what do you think? Doing pretty well. Suppose I can put another line on here. I watched the video from Thursday night, and I sure do leave my mouth hanging open a lot. You know, if you were watching this for the first time, you might think I'm a Neanderthal. I really wish Google made some, or YouTube made some sort of sound when people wrote something in the chat, so I wouldn't have to keep glancing over. Although I think I'm getting better at keeping an eye on it. By the way, Ulysses, great conversation. Thank you. Sure makes the work go along a lot easier when you get somebody to talk to. There's other people in the chat room. Lord of the Rings. So I think that there are, I've thought of this before too. I might revise this number, but off the top of my head, there are 3 movies that significantly advanced movie making and storytelling in our time, in my lifetime. Star Wars was definitely the first one. And if you don't know what I mean by that, just ask and I'll tell you. The Matrix was the second one, and Lord of the Rings was the third. Lord of the Rings is an interesting case. I tried to read Lord of the Rings several times, and actually after the answer that you just gave me, you might understand this. And I read a lot of science fiction. I could not get through those frickin' books. Every single time I picked up the Lord of the Rings, I fell asleep before I got 100 pages in. He is just so long-winded of a writer. Like, I just couldn't get through them. But Lord of the Rings, I thought it was masterfully done. In fact, that's really kind of what made me fall in love with Peter Jackson as a director-producer. But their CGI work, I think, on Gollum specifically, I think their CGI work advanced the medium further than anybody beforehand, and I think they're really responsible, single-handedly responsible for making CGI a believable medium, and their attention to detail and the epic scale that they showed us was just phenomenal. The costumes, I think, were just absolutely astounding. I watched a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on Lord of the Rings, and I saw the armorers that they had, and actually, to be honest, that's one of the things that got me interested in real costume building. I don't know if you've watched a lot of my videos, but I make, you can see back there, I make costumes and props as a hobby. I'm part of the 501st Legion. So yeah, they really got me interested in the costume and prop making. Although I mean I had done some of it before, but they were just so good at it. I thought the story was just fantastic. It definitely wasn't too long. Now, again, this is one of those things where it obviously wasn't exactly the same as the books. It would be impossible to be exactly the same as the books because the books were freaking long. And, you know, I think the first one came in at 2.5 hours, even with all of the stuff they cut out. There were a couple of changes that they made, apparently, from the books that people didn't feel they needed to make. And that might be valid. A lot of the CGI still holds up fairly well, even from the first movie from 14 years. That first movie from 14 years, that was 14 years ago? Holy crap! Wow! I still look at Gollum today, you know, and you can see the pores in his skin, and I am still amazed. They just did a phenomenal job, and you know, like I said, they invented a lot of that stuff, and they actually invented another thing. It was I can't remember what they called it, but it was basically a system for generating large groups of people slash monsters slash whatever the hell you call them for long shots, where they would actually behave like people would, and you know, they're not all moving in exact unison and in lockstep, and you know, there's some real life to the mob kind of a thing, the way it would be in real life. So yeah, they definitely advanced movie making. They absolutely advanced movie making. And my hat is definitely off to them for that. So yeah, Lord of the Rings is really one of my 3 top favorite movies. Star Wars is absolutely my favorite. Matrix is second, and Lord of the Rings is definitely third on my list. That doesn't mean I, you know, dislike the other movies or like them much less. It's just like that one more. Hard to hold a conversation though when I only get to hear you 30 seconds or more behind what I'm saying. So yeah, I've been wanting to do that totally virus reviews thing for a long time. I think I'm going to do it. It burns my ass when I see all these other people doing reviews, and they're talking about all of these really highbrow plot point type things that really just like pretentious, I guess. It's the only thing. Halo series. So I have only played, so actually, I'm sure you can see them, yeah. So I've got 2 Halo helmets back there that I've built. The red one, I actually molded that off of a mold that a buddy of mine did. And then the green one there, another buddy of mine, Barnacules Nerdgasm, 3D printed that, and he brought it to me as a 3D print in 16 different pieces to put it together and make it look like the helmet that you see there. Make it look not like 3D printing. And I've got a full Halo suit, Pepakura foam, EVA foam Pepakura suit somewhere. So I definitely like the genre. I've played the first game all the way through. I liked it. But I have never played any of the other ones. And the reason that I haven't played any of the other ones is because when I was actively playing the game, they only made them for consoles. And actually, I think it specifically was only for Xbox. And I am not a console gamer. I'm a huge PC gamer. I am not a console gamer at all. So I know the older ones came out for the PC a couple of years. Oh, and then one came out, like 2 or 3 came out for Windows Vista only, back when Windows Vista first came out, and I refused to get it because of all of the hype that people were putting around it, saying that it was so bad. I've since come to find out a lot more about Vista and realized I was wrong, but I refused at the time to get it for that reason. I tried to install it like 2 and 3 and 4 6 months ago or so, I guess, but it's so, like, the quality was just so bad comparatively. I mean, you know, it was good quality at the time, but today's quality is just so different than it was back then that I just couldn't play it. So I haven't really the first concept. As far as I understand, there are at least 3 different or whatever they're called, and then there's the people or beings who built the Halo stations, and I think there's more than one, but I could be wrong on that. So I think that's a cool universe idea. I love the Spartan concept. I didn't actually enjoy the Halo series, partly because I had friends hype it up so much, and when I played with them, I was really disappointed. That's one of the traps that you can fall into. That's what I was talking about before. You've got to be careful about stuff like that. And even me, even though I think I know myself really, really well, I've got to be careful of it too, because I've made exactly that same mistake in the past. I've let, I swear to God, like after an hour or two, the internet gets tired. I don't know what the hell it is, but all of a sudden my bandwidth, oh, I'm on Comcast. How much do you want to bet that after 2 hours of me live streaming, they start throttling my data? I'm going to look into that. If that's true, I am going to be torqued. I'm paying for this data. Wow. Because that happens too regularly. Every time at around the 2-hour mark, every time my quality on my stream goes down. If that's the case, man, I am not going to be a happy camper. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right, and I totally agree with you. If somebody hypes something up too much, it's really what am I saying? Risky if somebody hypes something up too much, because it's always very difficult to live up to the hype. Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that, because that's way too coincidental. I'm going to flip the board around now. When I was doing the work on the other side there, I was sitting on the other side. But with you guys watching me, I kind of don't want to put my back to you so you're looking at the back of my head. So what I'm going to do is try and flip this around. First, I got to get it off of the paper everywhere that I glued it down. Although I got to say, holding together pretty well. Huh? Huh? What do you think? Huh? Yeah. Hey, this is gonna be nice. It's kind of sitting partially on my computer there, but no, here, I can get it down here. There we go. Put that there. There we go. Now I can do this side. But before I can do that, I have to cut more popsicle sticks. This is the very end of the first box. That's 1,000 popsicle sticks, folks. Holy 9,000 more. Think I can make it? I think. Oh, shoot. There we go. Gotta fix that. Pretty sure I can do this all with 10,000. So, where were we? What were we talking about? I'm old. I forget quickly. I watched last night's with Morgan Freeman. What are my thoughts on the new Mad Max movie? The new Mad Max movie, visually stunning. Although it is right on the edge. There was another movie like this too, but it's right on the edge of what I can stomach. It's definitely an interesting concept. You know, this post-apocalyptic world kind of a thing. It's a cool idea. Some of the deformities and some of the things that they showed just graphically were a little more than I like. So I came away from it feeling a little bit queasy, to be honest. But the movie, I think, was meant to be definitely meant to be visually stunning, and it was. Like, I mean, wow. And it was also it was a nonstop roller coaster ride. Like, I don't think there were really any points in the film at all when there wasn't some kind of danger happening within a minute, kind of thing. You know, there was, I mean, it was start to finish. It was just it was a chase. Like, you were on the edge of your seat the whole time. Your heart was pumping. And I think that's what they intended to do. So I think they definitely achieved their goals. All in all, I liked it. I can't exactly say it's my favorite because, like I said, it's kind of right on the edge of what I can stomach. You know, the images of the girls, being milked was not something that I enjoyed at all. That's just that kind of stuff. You know, while I can understand it from the purpose of the story, that's not what I call entertainment. That's just not entertainment to me. You know, like I said, some of the different deformities were just hard to stomach. While I believe they totally fit within the context of the story, again, that's just not what's entertainment to me. It made me get back into playing Fallout and Rage. Rage is not one I've played. Fallout, however, one of my favorites, actually. In fact, what do you think? Have you seen the trailers for the new Fallout 4? I think it's Fallout 4. Have you seen the trailers for the new Fallout 4? Are you excited for that? Because I sure am. First one that I played, the first Fallout I played was actually Fallout 3. I've watched some stuff about, you know, Fallout 1 and 2 and, you know, and the precursor to that, actually. Apparently there was a precursor to that that were all like turn-based type games, top-down isometric type games, which might have been really good in their time. But again, I wouldn't go back to them in this day and age. But Fallout 3, Fallout 3 is another one that I played through multiple times. In fact, I think Fallout 3 was probably the first one that I was played. A little cautious, worried it might be too action shooter other than RPG. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. The thing I wonder about is it's the same thing that happened with that I was talking about earlier, that happened with what was it? Mass Effect. Whereas the next one being just derivative, like Fallout 3 and Fallout 3 New Vegas. Fallout 3 New Vegas was literally just a module of Fallout 3. It was the same engine, all the same characteristics. It was just a new place, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my biggest worry with Fallout 4. I don't know if they've made any specific changes to make it more a first-person shooter. I hope not. They were like the old Baldur's Gate game. Baldur's Gate. I played that one right around the time it first came out. 83, 84 kind of thing. In fact, I just reinstalled Baldur's Gate, tried to play it. Oh my God, it's hard. Or maybe I'm confusing that one with Bard's Tale. Bard's Tale and Baldur's Gate, I played them both when they first came out. Old games. Good games. Like started the genre type games. Yeah, why did you, so if you like New Vegas better than 3, what was it about it that you liked better? I'd be interested, because honestly, I've found them, I mean, other than it's a different story, which sure, it's good, I found them to be basically the same. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like the story of New Vegas better than the other one, nothing wrong with that. Yes, I have it installed. Haven't played it yet. Played Baldur's Gate on the PS2. Yeah. I never had a PS2. The only console I've ever, well, that's not quite true. So the only console that I've ever really owned that I played was the NES. I was a computer guy before that, and I'm a computer guy now. I bought the NES back when it was first out in North America, and played a bunch of things on it, including what was that Link? What was it? Can't remember what it's called. The clans and sites of New Vegas I thought were more interesting than 3. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. So more interesting story and more visually appealing. Yeah, sure. I can see that. See, I mean, while that stuff definitely interests me, and I love a story-driven game, I mean, my favorite games are definitely Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Fallout 3, and Knights of the Old Republic, the online game. Oh, and actually, I just played Witcher 3 all the way through. Very good game. Like that a lot. But they're all very story-driven games where you've got as much storyline as you have, action and gameplay. NES is awesome. Need to find a way to get it. Yeah, I picked up an old NES here just a little while ago. Actually, that's it right there, I think. Yeah, that's my old NES, and right beside my Radio Shack TRS-80. I'm kind of starting very, very slowly to get into some of the retro gaming stuff. I would love to get those hooked up. Actually, I've seen stuff where people actually take these old things like the NESs and retrofit them with HDMI and stuff like that, which is quite cool. So just change the video hookups so that they're easy to work with the new ones. Yeah. It's interesting. My PC monitor, is a 42-inch HD TV. I get 1900 by 1600 resolution on it. Like, I mean, I get good resolution on it, and it's 42 inches, so I love it. So my monitor is a TV. Have you played Knights of the Old Republic games by BioWare? Yeah, I did. So I played, yes. BioWare, I think, is probably my favorite gaming company, game design company. I think they make the best ones as far as I'm concerned. They were really good. And then the Old Republic Online it came out of those. Like, it's completely inspired by that, and it's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, which I love. Like, I'm big into those. I started playing EverQuest in 1999, and I played that for 6 years, and I was an in-game guide for Sony for like 5 of those 6 years. Then I moved to World of Warcraft, and I played that for 5 or 6 years. Yes, that kind of thing is cool, but I want to keep my console as original possible. Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely can understand that. That just means that you have to get the converters and just keep them external instead of putting them internal. Nothing wrong with that. So I've owned a PS3, and I now own an Xbox One. But to be honest, I bought both of them as media centers. I bought the PS3 originally because Blu-rays had been out for about 2 or 3 years at the time, I guess. And I bought a Blu-ray player when Blu-rays really first came out. cost $250, I think, or $350. And it was just crappy. It was like a first generation. Conversions are kind of hard with the delay. Conversations are kind of hard with the delay. Yes, I know. Sorry about that. Best I can do. I don't know why they have such a long delay on this. Maybe it takes that long to encode it and get it up. I don't know. And of course, they're kind of hard with a guy like me who keeps losing his train of thought. By the way, if anyone else wants to jump in, you're more than welcome. This is not a conversation between two people. It's a conversation with the world. Getting close. I'll get this done today, whether it's on camera or not. And then I will I might just do a separate one for cutting the edges off. Robopocalypse. I can't say that I've read Robopocalypse. I read a lot of science fiction, like a lot of science fiction. I started reading science fiction when I was 16 years old. My piano teacher, of all people, got me interested in science fiction. And that was really what started my love of reading. Can't play the piano. So what I got out of that was how to read. I still remember the first science fiction book well, science fiction fantasy, because I like them both. But I really kind of started with fantasy more than science fiction. And I've read most of, well, what I consider to be the great science fiction writers. Piers Anthony, L. Ron Hubbard. Oh God, I can't even remember them all now. It's just some fabulous, fabulous writers. Anne McCaffrey. There's no way I'll remember them all. I read a series about a robot. Was it called Juxtaposition? Or no, it was written by the same guy who wrote Juxtaposition. It was about a robot who wanted to be human, I think. Or wanted to be as human as possible. And no, it wasn't Blade Runner. Although Blade Runner, another good book. Well, actually, I guess it was called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I think that's what the original book was called, if I remember correctly. A long time ago, and I'm old. That's going to be my excuse for everything. If I can't remember something, I'm old. I can get away with it with you guys. My wife just hits me. My wife's also ex-military, so she doesn't let me away with shit. It's a great read. It's about how society is becoming too dependent on tech. So an AI that was self-aware turned the tech against humanity. The book follows many different characters. Yeah, that turning the tech against humanity thing, that's a fairly common plot device. It's worked a lot. Was the book that I read, I, Robot, I don't know if it was iRobot. I do know that it was. So there was a movie that Will Smith was in, and I think that was called iRobot. And if that's the same thing, then no, it definitely was not that. There was a biggest thing I can remember about this was there was some sort of a competition that this robot entered that was, I'm pretty sure it was, if it wasn't for humans only, it was, I don't remember. But I remember there was a bunch of things that he had to do, and one of them was like a music contest of some sort. And in the end, I think he tied with somebody else, and then had to do a duet with this guy as a tiebreaker kind of thing. Honestly, can't remember. Like I say, I'm pretty certain it was by the same author who wrote Juxtaposition. Or maybe it was Juxtaposition, I'm not sure. That's another thing. I tend to read multiple series by the same author. So a lot of them will blur with me. I think the first science fiction book I ever read was Cadre 1. That's what it was called. It was about this society that had a type of people, a caste of people, whatever case of people, where it's like the CIA kind of a thing, where you start out and you're cadre 9 or 7 or something. I can't remember where you start out, and basically you work your way up in the organization until you're cadre 1, and cadre 4 are analyst type things, and cadre 1 are the elite field operatives. And I just remember the scene where this kid went to interview for a job there, and what they do is they put each candidate in a waiting room by themselves, and there's nothing in that waiting room but a vending machine and I think a chair or a bench or something, and they put you in the waiting room and then they leave you there and never come get you. Well, almost never. And what they're doing is they're actually observing you to see how you react when you're expecting someone to come get you and no one does. And they see what you do and how you act and that kind of a thing. And I just remember the main character of this book was so striking because he walked into this room, sat down on the chair, and when the door opened 2 days later, he got up and walked out and did nothing in between. And they make a big deal out of this because, I mean, most people go crazy after a couple of hours, right? If no one comes and gets them. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. If you're being told, wait here, somebody will come get you, and then 2, 3, 4, 6, 10 hours later, no one's come and gotten you, most people will get a little impatient by that point. So they made a big deal out of this kid, just sitting there for 2 days and doing nothing. And basically what it was he finally waited them out, which was kind of cool. And then, there were big space battles and stuff that came after that. Really kind of cool. The great thing about having conversations like this, though, is if you get bored with what I'm saying, walk away and go get a drink or something, you can just rewind me. And I'll just keep rambling until somebody says something. Because, hey, I'm like that. Hell, for all I know, you could be my brother, whom I haven't talked to in 20 plus years. I'm certain no one out here is my wife, though. This kind of stuff bores her to tears. So does anybody on the live stream here watch Felicia Day or know who Felicia Day is? I forgot to mention with Robopocalypse, the main thing I liked about it was that the characters were really well written and the different characters were really very important. That's cool. That's probably the hallmark of a good book. I mean, let's face it. I mean, that's what keeps you interested, right? Nobody wants a boring character. Felicia Day I admire Felicia Day actually very much. She, I think the first time I ever saw her was in Joss Whedon's Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. If you haven't seen Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, you have to go look up Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. It's with Neil Patrick Harris and Nathan Fillion and Felicia Day. Felicia Day started out as, and still is very much, a huge YouTube actress, writer, director, producer. She wrote, and I'm pretty sure directed and produced The Guild, which is another thing. If you like online role-playing games, you'll definitely connect with this. Did I ever play the game Remember Me? No, I never even heard of Remember Me. What is Remember Me about? You know what I like? You know what I'm into? I like tower defense games. Although I'm finding a lot of them not to hold my attention as long as they used to. They're getting a little bit more boring these days, but the whole premise of tower defense games I really like. I started that out in the old real-time strategy games when they would just send wave after wave after wave of things at you, and what I would do was I would create this little gauntlet. Instead of creating a wall that they'd come and beat themselves against and putting stuff behind it, I would create a maze that they could actually walk through. So they would never try to beat down my walls. But then along the maze, I would put towers shooting at them, and invariably it would just always, they couldn't get out the other end. So that's what got me started liking the tower defense games. But I'm finding the tower defense games that they're putting out now, again, to be very, very derivative and basically the same thing I've seen over and over again, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, I still like them. But after you play them for a while, they will get boring. Here's a summary of Remember Me. Neo Paris 2084. Personal memories can now be digested, bought, sold, and traded. Oh, that sounds cool. The last remnants of privacy and intimacy have been swept away in what appears to be a logical progression of the explosive growth of social networks at the beginning of the 21st century. It's called Remember Me. So what's the gameplay like? It sounds cool. It's definitely an interesting concept. Like it'd be a novel concept for like a book or a movie. What's the gameplay like? Because I do like that, you know, that neo-utopian or neo-dystopian type of society stuff. I really love the idea, the Netrunner type of an idea. Alrighty, I think it is time to start gluing again. The main thing of the game was that there were points where you had to go and alter characters' memories, which then changed their personalities. Interesting. Bit of a moral dilemma there. Definitely an interesting plot device, though, I'll tell you. It's a typical action adventure. You have decent fighting, although you can customize your combos to have different moves and such. Simple puzzles and a bit of parkour. So kind of reminiscent of the Tomb Raider series, maybe? Similar kind of a style. I thought the Tomb Raider series, and the Tomb Raider series was actually, I think, derived from the Prince of Persia series. Although I didn't like how linear it was. There was only so much you could change in people's memories and not enough exploring. Yeah, that's kind of sounding like the Tomb Raider kind of thing. And Tomb Raider, I'm pretty sure Tomb Raider was based fairly directly off of Prince of Persia. And I think Prince of Persia, to be honest, kind of grew out of Mario Brothers, which is another interesting thing. If it's the kind of game I'm thinking of, I definitely like those kinds of games, but only for a little while. Like they'll, they're a one playthrough kind of game for me. Yeah, so yeah, definitely the kind of thing that I could play through and enjoy once. How old is the game? Like, when did the game come out? Would I find it on Steam, basically, I guess, is what I should ask you. Because I get most of my games from Steam now. I beat it in one sitting recently. About 10 hours to beat. Ooh, wow. That's a short game. 2013. Okay, so I could likely find it on Steam then. Cool. Yeah, I might look for it. At 10 hours, I wouldn't pay a lot for it. Have you ever played, what's this? I bought it on the winter sale and never got around to playing it yet. Have you ever played Orcs Must Die? There's a game that I enjoy. It's sort of a cross between a tower defense and a first-person shooter. And I very much enjoyed that one. Dungeon Defenders I've played. I got a little bored with it, I'll be honest. Dungeon Defenders is actually very similar to Orcs Must Die. I just enjoyed Orcs Must Die better. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think you can get Orcs Must Die right now for about $5. I think. Oh, give me a second, guys. My wife calling. I'll be back. Hi, honey. How you doing? Go ahead. What's up? Hello. Yeah. So she's going to be calling me back in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to have to go away again. It's $10 and there's a second one. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Arcs Must Die is a pretty cheap game, and you actually get a lot of hours playing out of it. I was pretty happy with that one. And yeah, there is the second one. The second one's all PvP, so I didn't like that as much. Hey, hey, what was wrong? Oh, actually, best. Yeah, it is good. But I am back. My my wife just buried her grandmother. I would have liked to have been there, but A, it costs over $1,000 for the flight, and B, I can't take the time off work right now. We have a new release going out this coming week, and there's a lot of work to get ready for it. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we kind of knew it was coming a year ago. My wife is a registered massage therapist, and she's worked a lot in geriatric care situations, and like almost exactly a year ago, her grandmother, who was 91 at the time, 92 when she died, fell and broke her hip. And my wife has come to understand that on average, older folks who that happens to tend to die within a year. It's kind of the herald of the end. I'm holding off on buying more games because I'm trying to play through what I have in my Steam library. I completely hear you there. Like, completely hear you there. I sometimes, when Steam has some good sales on, I'll buy some things and not play through them immediately. And I kind of hate having games that I haven't played through because it almost feels like wasted money. I have a lot of games that I haven't even touched thanks to the Humble Bundle. You know, I've never done one of those bundle things, the Humble Bundle thing, and I mean that's the digital equivalent of those nerd block type things, right? Where they it's like a subscription to stuff, and you just get the things. You get a great price on the stuff, but you sometimes get things that you're just not interested in at all. Yeah, I've never done one of those. I have narrowed down my install list to about 20 games, which is better than before. I've got 5 terabytes of disk space, internal and another 3 external. So my installed list is large, and that doesn't bother me. But the list of games that I play anymore, that is a completely different story. You donate, and it shows the games you'll get, but you donate as much as you want, and after about $10, you usually get the whole bundle. Interesting. So it's kind of a pay what you think it's worth kind of a system. So it's like an honor system kind of a thing. And is that every month? Because I mean, $10 a month is not a lot. Pay whenever you want. Interesting. How often do the bundles come out? I don't know a lot about this, which is why I'm asking all the questions. Not a subscription. If you want a bundle, you pay for it. If not, you can wait for the next. Oh, okay. Interesting. And they tell you what all is in it, do they? So just kind of a discount system. I'll have to look at it, actually. Money goes to charity. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm big on stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why I got involved with the 501st. You see all the games, so no surprise. Yeah, that's nice. And this is on Steam, is it? Separate website, but you get Steam keys. Okay, I'll take a look for it. I think my buddy Jerry, I think I've heard him talking about this before. Barnacles, Nerdgasm. Ow! Hot glue is hot. Ow! And I'm stupid. That's better. Ah. I swear to God, somebody needs to start a burnometer. I really want to get this done now because I want to do this trimming. And I kind of want to do it today. Yeah, that was on my finger. Ow. I gotta say though, Ulysses, thanks for the conversation because it sure makes the work go quicker. I have not played EVE Online. I have heard a lot about EVE Online, and with my distaste for PvP, I do not believe it would be a good fit for me. How about you? What are your favorite games? All the ones you've asked me about, probably. Played Eve because I got a discount on it. It was kind of boring. Okay. If you're not doing PvP, you just sit around mining some asteroids waiting for skills to finish draining. Yeah, I also played Elite Dangerous, which I think, based on what people are saying, is kind of similar. Not as well developed as EVE Online is. And while I do like the mining thing, I like Elite Dangerous has a lot of trading in it too, actually. I don't know if EVE has that. But I like the mining, I like the trading. I like the combat, but I'm not that good at it. But in the end, I kind of got bored of Elite Dangerous. Really like Mass Effect, Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout, Witcher. Okay, so just so you know, Mass Effect, one of my favorites. Skyrim, I love. Oblivion, yes. Fallout, absolutely. Just Cause, I don't know what that is. Witcher, love Witcher 3, absolutely. Really enjoying Deus Ex. Diablo I played a long time ago. Good, but I think I've outgrown it. Deus Ex, I don't know what that is. Yeah, Elite Dangerous, well, Elite Dangerous itself is fairly new, but to be honest, it's actually just a remake or an update of an old game. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's literally exactly the same thing. There was a vector graphics kind of a game 20 years ago that was exactly the same game as Elite Dangerous, like exactly, and I think it's even by the same manufacturers. The trading was the same, the starships were the same, the stations, the space stations, were the same. The way you get into them was the same. Like it's the same game. It's just updated. EU has a huge game economy. Yes, yes, I've heard about that. In fact, I heard about the big dust up that they had. Oh God, it's got to be at least 6 months ago now, maybe even a year. I'm not sure. Where they had this big war for a couple of days, and they figure hundreds of thousands of real dollars were lost. Because if I understand correctly, in EVE Online, you can pay real money to get either to get ships or to get the items necessary to make your ships. And they had this big war between corporations, and people lost some of these really expensive ships. Deus Ex is a cyberpunk shooter, stealth RPG. Ooh, I love stealth RPGs. There was a stealth RPG one that I did about vampires, in fact. What the heck was it called? Oh, it was really good. Definitely like the stealth RPGs. Deus Ex. So Deus Ex, I'm gonna have to find that. That's 2 games you've given me. Yeah, that's what got me interested in the games. Those experiences are very rare. Yeah. Ow. If you're counting, that's another ow. I have to go back through this conversation at the end and write down all these game ideas you're giving me. Why did I do that? Put a whole set of them in. Dummy. The first Deus Ex came out in 2000. There's a new one coming out soon. I will definitely check that out. In fact, I wouldn't be above going back to the 2000 game. Oh, so if you like those kinds of stealth sort of RPGs, first-person shooter like things, definitely look for or get the Vampire the Masquerade games. I think there were 2 or 3 different ones that came out. One was pretty. The first one was fairly old and on a much older, less versatile engine, but the second one was much more visually appealing, and it's a similar kind of a game. I think you'll really enjoy it. And I'm definitely going to look for this Deus Ex. Oops. There aren't any really coming out for right now that I'm holding my breath about. Although the new Battlefront could be good. It's pretty much a straight up first-person shooter, though. I mean, not my favorite type of game, and unfortunately, I think it's all PvP, which, again, not my favorite type of game. But huge Star Wars fan, so I'm probably going to try it. I'm trying to make sure this piece isn't drooping down, because as you can probably see, the whole thing is just a little too wide for the table that I'm on. So the edges are kind of sitting off of the edge here. And I'm trying to make sure that it's level. Yeah, well, I mean, if it's on for a good price, I definitely think you should get it, because it sounds like a similar kind of genre to the kind of thing you say you like. So I definitely like those kinds of things. So I am definitely going to get that Deus Ex that you're talking about. And actually, coincidentally, I'm kind of looking for a new game right now. So I play Star Wars: The Old Republic online Monday and Wednesday nights with my guild. I'm in the X4 guild on the Shadowlands server, and oh, what? Have I thought of getting a second table? Not really. I don't actually have the room. You can't really see it, but there's only about 3 feet behind me, and there's only about 2 feet to the wall on the other side, so not really a lot of room. I lost my train of thought again. Wow. I'm old. To be honest, I'm just glad I got this table. Back in my old house, I would have done this. I had a gaming table that I set up with that was 4 foot by 8 foot. I just went out to Home Depot and got a 4 by 8 sheet of it's that MDF, but it's got that like plastic laminate on the top of it. So it's a lot like a laminated countertop kind of a thing. I got one of those and a 4 by 4, and I built a gaming table. Something about Knights of the Old Republic and how you're looking for a new game to play. Oh yeah, right. So I play Knights of the Old Republic twice a week, but other than that, I'm not really playing anything right now. I played Witcher 3 through twice already. Definitely enjoyed that. I was one of the unfortunates who bought Batman pre-release, Batman Arkham Knight on pre-release, and I got to play it 42% of the way through. I know this because it tells me you're 42% complete. And then NVIDIA put out an emergency patch update driver for Batman Arkham Knight, because so I've got a good system, but it's a little bit old, and it's not a super system, but it's a good one. So it was playing okay, but there was definitely frame drops, lag, and all of those kinds of things. It was definitely happening, and I knew it was happening. But I'm the kind of guy, I can I can play through that most of the time. I've had enough poor machines that I'm kind of used to that, playing through those kinds of problems. So I was playing through it, got 42% of the way through it, and NVIDIA put out an emergency patch, said it's going to fix the problems. I installed the emergency patch, and now I can't play the freaking thing. Like, it is totally unplayable. I'll be driving through the city, or even walking through the city, and the different layers, like, I don't know how much you know about computer graphics, but they basically build things up in layers. And, you know, if there's a light, like this light that's up above me here, that'll cast, you know, light areas and shadow areas. The light area is one color overlay kind of a thing with a transparency set on it. The shadow area is another kind of an overlay kind of a thing with a level of transparency set on it, so that you can see the background but still see that there's a light there, or that there's a shadow there. Well, these things will set themselves to 100% opacity. So basically, instead of becoming lights and shadows, they become curtains. And you literally can't see a freaking thing until you get through them. And then you see the next one that's 30 feet away that you can't also see through. So the game is now, after this emergency patch to fix it so that you can play it, it is now completely unplayable. And I'm 42% of the way through it. And I don't know if you can tell this or not, but I'm pissed. Give me a freaking game, let me play it. You've got 12 hours on Witcher 3. God, I have way too many hours on Witcher 3. Like, I have wasted far too much of my life on Witcher 3 since it came out. There's a lot of content there. Very, very happy with Witcher 3, to be honest. So yeah, I need a new game right now. Or maybe I don't need a new game. Maybe I needed a new hobby. Maybe this is it. This will be taking up my time instead of playing some random new game. At least I have something tangible out of this in the end. I still have to play the Batman Arkham series. So the Batman Arkham series, I played the whole thing, except only 42% of the last one. And they're good. They're definitely built for consoles. They're fairly simplistic, but the storyline is quite good. Just from what you told me about the types of games that you like, I definitely think you would appreciate the story-driven aspect of the Batman series. The fight scenes, it's almost like you're watching a movie that is punctuated by fight scenes that you get to control. Like, that's the feel of it to me. So that's why I like it, actually. The end is in sight. Got most of the field done. This thing's going to be huge. Huge, I tell ya. He's gonna go upstairs and cry himself to sleep on a huge pillow. Hey, look at that. See, that's why you save this stuff. Got a head like a Sputnik. ASX and remember me. Yeah, okay. Thanks for chatting with me, man. I really appreciate it. Makes the time go a lot faster. Enjoy your meal. I'm gonna finish this up. May or may not be here later on. I don't know. So take care, man. So if anyone else wants to chat, feel free. I'm a chatty kind of guy. Most of the time, you can't shut me up. Boy, I tell you, I've made a bunch of mistakes here that if I was doing it all over again, I'd definitely have to watch out for. I should use that. So, what started all this? Oh, it was the Totally Biased reviews. What else have I watched recently? You know what first got me started thinking about Totally Biased reviews was the very first X-Men series that or movie that came out. I was in Chicago at the time, just before it came out, and the newspaper there, I don't know what it's called, Chicago Tribune maybe, I'm not sure. The newspaper there had a literally a 2-page review on the X-Men. And whoever wrote it definitely knew something about the comics. I've been an X-Men fan for a very long time, so I know something about the comics. But this guy or girl, I don't know, panned the movie, said it was terrible, and cited a bunch of reasons why it was terrible. Some of those reasons being there was no no friendship between Professor Xavier and Magneto, because in the comic books, they're actually very good friends, or were at one point in time, and Professor X is always trying to save Magneto. And another thing they talked about was how Sabretooth was really very feral, and there was no homage to the fact that he actually knew Wolverine, and they were actually very close friends. And a bunch of things like this. And after I watched the movie, like, and I read that, and I thought, wow, I mean, if this is true, I'm not sure I'm going to like the movie. And then after I watched the movie, I swear to God, I wondered if the reviewer had watched the same movie that I had just watched. Because everything that this person said was wrong, or showed that the guy, girl, whoever it was, didn't actually watch the movie. They might have watched the first 10 minutes of it, maybe, or watched it without words, or I don't know. But everything that they said about the movie, both good and bad, was just wrong. And it was at that point where I started believing that reviewers are really just giving you their own very biased opinions. And if they're not truthful with you about what their biases are, they can easily give you the wrong impressions. And it was at that point that I decided to stop listening at all to what reviewers said. I take zero stock in what reviewers say. I will listen to more to recommendations by people who I either admire or I know what their particular biases are. That's why I'm trying to be very open, upfront, and honest about what my biases are. And while I may not remember them all in the beginning, I should be able to be self-aware enough to be able to understand when I'm showing a particular bias and be able to tell you about it. I hope. Well, folks, I'm starting to get tired. I might actually cut this off for now. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop for now. I'm probably going to finish the flooring off camera because there's very little left to go now anyway. There's just this and that piece there. I'll finish the flooring off camera, but then what I'll do is I'll start up another live stream when I cut all of these ends here, because I think that the way I do that is going to be interesting. So thanks to everybody for watching this afternoon on this bonus live stream. Watch me sheathe the floor. Special thanks to Ulysses Wolfgang for the really fun and interesting conversation. Definitely enjoyed that. And next time, if all the rest of you lurkers want to join in on the conversation, you are definitely more than welcome to. And in fact, if you're watching this on YouTube after the live stream and you want to start up discussions in the comments down below, I would be very happy with that also. I'm very happy to continue the conversations with you. But other than that, I believe I will see you on the next bonus video of cutting off the ends of the floor sheathing. So thanks again, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.